Hello, you students. In this video, we'll go over the Java conversions. And to be more specific, we'll understand how to convert a string to a primitive data type and how to do the opposite, a primitive data type to a string. Throughout the development process, either you're developing an application or you're developing automated tests, you might face the situation that a string contains a specific value that you would want to convert to another data type. Some of the use cases might be taking an input from your front end of the application, that most likely that input is going to come as a string. Another example might be user input as a string, such as filling out the forms. And also there might be just a string in your application that you would want to extract some value from there and convert to a numeric data type that you can perform some mathematical operations. Now let's see some of the use cases from the testing perspective. One of the examples would be, imagine you work for Best Buy and you need to test the newly added functionality to the web application that now each item is going to be displayed with the pricing in more details. Here you're going to have how much it was, how much user saves, and how much is now actually as a final price. Now, from the standpoint of the tester, what you would do, you would extract this old price, a savings, subtract the savings from the old price, and if that value that you actually get as a result from the operation, if it matches with the value displayed as the item price, that would be a past test case. Now, you as a tester, how you get this value from here, no worries about it right now because you'll learn this in the future classes, but you would go to inspect this value. We can select web element to see the value of it, and you can see here this is the price that it was, but we clearly see that this is a string. It contains was, space, $, and $249.99. You'll learn in the future how exactly to extract these values, and they will come to your project or to your Java code as a string. Now imagine you have this 249.99 as a string. How can you do math operations with it? Well, with a string it's not possible, so we'll need to convert this value to a numeric, to a double data type, and then perform the operation. This would be one of the use cases. Another use case would be, imagine you would go to create account, and here is a form for you to fill out. Now, all of the values that you will input to this input boxes, that value is going to treat it as a string and send to the application. Now, the question is, sometimes you want to perform some relational operations. You want to compare some values, and that might be that you want to convert those values to a specific data type. Now let's take a look at the details of the conversions. Imagine you have a string named string value and initialized to 50. The value 50 is as a string literal. It's enclosed in double quotation marks, and this is treated as a string. If we would try to do string value plus 10 and assign this result to an integer, this will be an error. Well, the error occurs because we cannot perform an addition with a string and a number. In fact, the string value plus 10 is an expression that evaluates to a string, since the compiler will perform a concatenation and the result will be 50, 10. The concatenation, just think about as a gluing together the things to the operands. It will take the left side and the right side and put them together. Remember the rules of the arithmetical operator plus. If both operands will be numeric values or primitive data types, it will perform a mathematical operation. However, if one of the operands or one of the sides is going to be a string, this is going to be treated as a concatenation, and the final value of this expression is going to be a string. Now, first of all, in Java, we'll have two options of converting a string to a data type. The first option is going to be the method parse and the data type. You'll see the pattern soon. But parse will actually convert to a primitive data type. And why is this important? Because we have the second option, that is valueOf. And what is the difference between these two is basically that valueOf will convert to a non-primitive data type. Let's say you're trying to convert a string that contains an integer. The valueOf is going to convert it to a object or a non-primitive data type integer. However, you're not going to see any difference as far as of now, and we will understand this in details in further classes. Now, before converting a string to a data type, you need to make sure that you have the values that correspond to the data type you want to convert to. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Let's see an example. Let's say we have a string value, and we assign to it a value of 10 as a string literal. Now, the string value variable contains a whole number as a string. Hence, we will convert to a data type that stores integer values, a byte, a short, an integer, or long. In the second example, the string value, now it's initialized to 10.5 string. Now the string value contains a floating number as a string, hence we'll convert to a data type that stores floating values. It might be float or it might be a double. And if you fail to convert to a data type that you actually required to, there's going to be an error. For example, if you try to convert 10.5 string value to an integer, this is going to result to an error. So make sure you understand before converting to what data type to convert. Here's the overview of all of the primitive data types and the way of converting a string value to a primitive data type. For example, for byte, we can use byte with a capital B dot parseByte method. In parentheses, we'll pass the value of the string that value will be converted to a byte. The same we can do with the byte dot valueOf. In parentheses, we'll pass the string value, and that would convert to a byte data type. Now, notice the pattern. Each of the data types you just change the class name. For the byte, you use byte. For short, it's going to be short. For int, it's going to be integer, long, and so on and so forth. And just remember the pattern. When you want to use the parse, you say that my class is integer.parseInt. Or you want to do a Boolean, you say Boolean.parseBoolean. Now, from all of these 8, we'll use the 3 ones, the most popular ones, the most common ones. Now let's get into our IDE and do some practice. I do have prepared a class, conversions, and I have a main method inside of it. So make sure you have a valid class and a valid main method so you can run the program. Inside, we'll start with the conversion from string to integer. And we will use the first option, which is integer.parseInt. First of all, given a string with the name string value, we assign to it the value of 20 as a string in double quotation mark. The next part will create a system out print statement, and let's try to take the string value and add it to 10. Can you guess the output? The output is going to be 2010. Why? Well, the reason is we have a string value, which is a string, and we have a plus operator, and we have a number, which is an integer number 10. When we have plus arithmetical operator, and we have one of the operands as a string, this expression will be a concatenation. So means the string and a number will be glued together. Now, how we can perform the mathematical operation? Well, we'll need to convert first. So for that, I'm going to use an integer and give a name, apples, and assign to it the string value. Well, this will not quite work. Right now, we're trying to assign a string value to an integer apples, which is not possible. How we can proceed in this situation? Well, we'll need to perform the conversion with this strategy that we talked before. So first, I'm going to say integer apples will be equal to whatever the integer dot parseInt will convert to. As you see, the parseInt method and Eclipse already put automatically the string value that we have in the parentheses. So this parseInt method will take the value of the string, which is 20, and parse it to an integer. Then that value we assign to a variable apples. Now let's see an example. What if we try to add now apples with 10? Can you guess the output? The output is going to be 30. So as you can see, we successfully take the string value, that is 20. We parsed it to an integer, means we convert it to an integer and assign to apples. Then we use this apples integer into a mathematical operation as an addition. And you can see apples plus 10 resulted to 30. One thing to make sure, as we have to provide the data type in the string value that matches to whatever we want to convert to. Imagine you have here 20.5. This will not work. If I go and execute this program, we'll get an error. And the error is because number format exception. What does it mean? It means that the format of the number that you're trying to convert to an integer is not an integer. So make sure when you do the conversion, it matches the data type that you want to convert to. The next, let me go and show the example with the second option, which is valueOf, using integer dot valueOf. I'm going to use the same strategy. I'm going to use a string that is going to be a string value. We will assign a 20 to it. Then we'll go ahead and try to do a math operation to this string value. If we execute the program, we'll get 2010 once again because it's a concatenation. And the second option of doing the conversion is going to be we can have an integer apples and assign to it the integer. And the conversion we'll do this time with the value of. And with the value of, we can provide the string value. Here is going to be the way. Then we can go and say system out print. Take the apples and add 10 to it. Once we execute this program, we'll see 30 in the second case, because the addition happened as a mathematical operation, since we took the string value, converted to an integer with the value of, and now we have the ability to perform any math operations. Next will be double. Let's convert a string to a double. The first option is going to be double dot parseDouble. Given a string named string value, we'll have to assign a value that is going to be a numeric with a decimal, and this is a string. Now, we'll try to go and do the math operation with this string value. $10.5. Guess the output. The output is going to be 20.5 and 10.5 just glued together. 20.5 and 10.5 glued together, because this is a concatenation. How do we convert to a double? First of all, I'm going to create a double variable. I'm going to say price. Then equals. Now the first option will use the parseDouble. I will go say I want to have the double class and use the method parseDouble. In parentheses, I'm going to provide the string value. Once again, Eclipse made it but automatically instead of me. Now let's see the second option. If we try to add the price with a 10.5. Guess the output. Well, the output is going to be 31.0, because here was performed an arithmetical operation, mathematical operation, correct? Not a concatenation, because we took the value from the string to 20.5, we converted this to a double, and then the double we add with the 10.5 hard-coded value, and the value evaluates to 31.0. The same approach we'll do with the value of. So for example, I will have to have this 2 lines at the beginning. We have a string value. Then we have to add the string value to 10.5, and that's going to be a concatenation. I go and create a double price and assign to it the value of double dot value of string value. Here we can go and say system out print the price add to 10.5. The final result is going to be 31.0 because we converted successfully a string value that contains a numeric or a floating number, and that was assigned to a double price, and that price we added with 10.5. The third data type will try to convert a string to a Boolean. Let's make a note. Convert string to Boolean. First option is going to be with a Boolean dot parse Boolean. Let's assume we'll have a string that is a string value, and that has the value of true as a string. If I would go and say system out print and give me the output of condition, which is string value and logical operator true. You know, these logical operators work with two operands that will be a Boolean expression. In our case, the left side is a string, which is not a Boolean expression, and that's why our AND operator complains it will not work. Error. Now, how do we convert this true string value to a Boolean? I would go create a Boolean variable. I'm going to say result. I'm going to assign the value of Boolean dot parse Boolean. And in parentheses, I'm going to provide the string value that contains true. Let's see now if we can go and take the result and apply logical operator on it. Can you guess the output? The output is going to be true. Now we know the logical operator will return true when both operands will be true. So result is true because we took the value from the string variable, converted with a Boolean parseBoolean, and assigned to the result. Now result is true and the right side is also true, means that the final value of this condition will be true. The same approach we can do with the value of. I'm going to take the 3 lines that we have here, comment out the first part, and here instead of Boolean parseBoolean, I'm going to use Boolean dot value of, and I want to provide the value of string value in the parentheses of the method. So the value of will take the value of string value, that is a true, convert it to a Boolean and assign to a result. If we go and say system out print, give me the result or false. Can you get the output? The answer is going to be true. You can see the OR operator works in the sense that one of the operands has to be true in order to result to true. And now this works perfectly fine because logical OR operator works with both sides when there are Boolean expressions. Result is a Boolean because we converted this from the string value. When converting from a string to a Boolean data type, we need to keep in mind 2 things. So first of all, a string containing a word true will be converted to true as a Boolean value. However, there is no case sensitivity, and any value containing true will be converted to true. What does it mean? It means that anything that is a word containing these 4 characters, 4 letters, T, R, U, E, no matter what is the case sensitivity, that is going to be evaluated to true. For example, this true, this true, this true, and this true is going to be the same when converting from a string to a Boolean. For example, here, if I go and say true with the all capital, execute the code, this will result to a true Boolean value. It will take the true in this form and convert it to a true Boolean value. Now anything else will be converted to false. If you go and say false, or you say a gibberish, or you say a character, or you say true in this way, everything that is not true is going to be false. Let's check. So if I go and say, all right, I have this value, string value, which is true right now. I actually want to go convert it to a Boolean result. And instead of me right now to doing a comparison, what I'm going to do, just print what is the final result of this Boolean value. If I do it right now, the true value is going to be converted to a true because there's no case sensitivity. However, what if I go and say a couple of E more? Based on this rule, this will be converted to false. If I go and say a couple of letters, some gibberish that doesn't really make sense, that's going to be false. And if I go and say false, that's going to be converted to false. So what we need to memorize. First of all, if the word or the string containing true 4 letters, TRUE, and there's no case sensitivity, that is going to be converted to a true. However, anything else that you're going to input as not true is going to be converted to false. Simple, right? Converting data type to a string. We also can convert a data type to a string. Generally, we can do it in different ways. First option is going to be to use the toString method that comes from each of the data type classes. You can go and say, if you have an integer, you would mention integer class dot toString, and it would provide a specific integer. It can be a hard-coded value or a variable. For double, you would say double to dot toString, Boolean toString, and so on and so forth. Another option would be you can use valueOf. This is a universal way of converting any data type to a string. You can go and say string.valueOf, provide an integer, a double, a boolean, a character, anything you want, and that will be converted to a string. And the last option is going to be concatenation. You can use concatenation to convert a value to a string. All we need to do is take a value, for example, an integer, and add to an empty string. As you know, the plus operator will work as a concatenation if one of the operands is a string. So this artificially creates a conversion that we can use as well. The first option is going to be toString method that comes from each of the classes. I'm going to go and say I have a string equals to integer dot toString parentheses, and inside I can provide a value of string. This is going to be converted to a string value. I can go and create a string, string2 equals, and convert to double. We can provide the double here, 15.5. And let's do one more example where string equals to Boolean dot toString false. This is going to be the first option, using toString from each data type. The second option is going to be use string dot value of. As I mentioned already, this is a universal way of converting any data type to a string. I'm going to comment this out. I will create a string. I'm going to use string dot value of. We can provide here a numeric value. I'm going to copy paste this 3 times. We can provide a double. We can provide a Boolean, or either we can go and provide a character. All of these values will be automatically converted to a string with the valueOf method. And the last part, we can use concatenation. For example, I will create again a string and let's say I have an integer value and I'm trying to assign it right now. It will not work. I do not apply any methods, but just gonna go and say plus an empty string. This will convert this 10 to a string value. Same approach we can do with any data type that we want. 10.5 plus empty string. False plus empty string. Character B plus empty string. This will be the result of the concatenation, and you can see we can assign or convert artificially a value by just concatenating with an empty string. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.